Hobo road, you carry me slow, nowhere to be and nowhere to go.
Welcome back, my scorn-soaked scribes of suspicion, my tent-tossed truth-tellers of turmoil, and my roadside philosophers of futility. Hobo Yeti here, still ducking the absurd, still trying to laugh at the gallows humor of being alive in a country where saying, "Let's euthanize the homeless" is less career-ending than saying the wrong thing about someone's haircut. On September 10th, a Fox News guest let the mask slip, just line the homeless up, give us a needle against our will, and be done with it. The network aired it. America heard it. I heard it. I thought, no way, too outrageous to be real, must be clickbait junk. Then came the apology. Not for being wrong, not for suggesting something barbaric, just for being callous. And the man still has his job. Think about that. If you said something tasteless about a coworker's gender identity, you'd be fired before lunch. Say, euthanize the homeless, and you get a weekend break and a shrug. There are more than 650,000 documented homeless people in this country, closer to 770,000 by 2024 counts. That's the census, a snapshot of shelter bunks, tent rows, car sleepers. About half fight addiction or mental illness. The rest? Just people like you, minus rent money or family backup. Yet the story told on TV is that we, the dispossessed, are the menace. Meanwhile, here are some raw numbers for violent crime. In 2023, there were 19,677 murders, 873,773 aggravated assaults, and 210,213 robberies in the United States, hundreds of thousands of violent felonies every single year. But you don't see panels calling for needles in the arms of those offenders. You don't see Fox News asking for euthanasia of barroom brawlers. No, because those people have lawyers, they have bail money, they have roofs. Drug trafficking. Try 18,000 federal cases in 2024, 18,000 pipelines of fentanyl and meth, gangs laundering money, swapping gunfire, turning neighborhoods into war zones. They have vehicles, attorneys, and political shadows. They drain courts, they flood prisons. And yet the primetime outrage is clear the encampments. The target is the guy sleeping behind the grocery store dumpster. We're supposed to swallow the story that a grandmother with a shopping cart is more dangerous than a cartel with assault rifles. That's not logic, that's propaganda. And while the media guest said the quiet part loud, let's not forget what the government itself is doing. The line from the top, straight from the president, is shelter or jail. Criminalize public camping, criminalize poverty itself, bulldozers on tents, buses to shelters, ordinances designed to sweep people out of sight. That's not mercy. That's not leadership. And when the commander-in-chief sets the tone as the leader of our country, is it really surprising that there are those who feel free to push it to the extreme? Even the co-host on Fox spelled it out. Either you take the resources we're going to give you, or you're going to be locked up in jail. How is that any less offensive? Where's the dignity in that choice? Where's the freedom? One voice says euthanize us, the other says cage us, and both are treated as reasonable policy talk. Isn't that just as chilling? Let's talk about that apology again. He said he was sorry for being callous, not for proposing medicalized extermination without trial, not for saying human beings were disposable. Just sorry it came out a little rough. Imagine suggesting euthanizing puppies on live TV. Career over. Suggest euthanizing human beings? Apparently fine, as long as you walk it back with a sigh. What's that say about our moral compass? What's it say about the value placed on lives without mortgages? And where are the Christians, the churches that line every intersection, the pulpits thundering about the Good Samaritan? Where are they when someone suggests we euthanize the neighbor in the ditch? Mostly quiet, or worse, nodding along. Love thy neighbor has a footnote. Unless they smell, unless they're broke, unless they scare the donors. What happened to right and wrong being obvious? Why does mercy always lose the budget battle to bulldozers? It's not public safety if the public being saved excludes us. It's not law and order if order means one class survives and the other is erased. America can summon tanks of funding to police tents, but not to police cartels. Why? Because tents don't hire attorneys. Tents don't bankroll campaigns. Tents don't fight back, and that makes them easier prey. Convenience has replaced justice. The media machine knows this. Homelessness trends because tents can be filmed, needles can be photographed. 1,000 interviews can be cut to make a mother in a car look like the cause of collapse instead of the symptom of a housing system gone septic. Meanwhile, white-collar fraud siphons billions, more than enough to house everyone. Corporate crime dwarfs encampment thefts. But where's the outrage panel? Where's the call for euthanasia of bankers? It never comes. So here's where I land. In America today, you can lose your career for the wrong joke, the wrong tweet, the wrong word about the wrong group. But you can call for euthanasia of the homeless and still punch your time card on Monday. There's right and wrong. This is wrong. Where's the outrage? Where's the protest? Why aren't offices swamped with calls demanding answers? Why do advertisers still pay to sit beside this poison? Why is a tent city treated as more dangerous than a cartel? Why do we measure accountability by PR damage, not by dignity? Let's stack the questions higher. If the numbers of murders, assaults, and robberies are this high, why funnel resources into chasing tents? If gangs are trafficking at scale, why is enforcement pointed at sleeping bags? If half the homeless population wrestles mental illness, why is the response not doctors but bulldozers? Why do people who claim to fear government overreach cheer for the state to criminalize poverty? Why is the call for freedom always selective? And if you're Christian, Muslim, Jewish, atheist, it doesn't matter. Where is your line? Is mercy optional? Is compassion conditional? Do your scriptures, your ethics, your morals end at the edge of a cardboard sign? Why is silence the common answer? Why are excuses the new gospel? And think about this. What's tolerated on TV tells the country what's permissible on the street. If you can suggest the death of the homeless on national airwaves, what stops the next city council from passing ordinances 1 inch closer to that reality? What happens when cruelty stops being hypothetical? I'm not asking for utopia. I'm asking why cruelty is the floor. Why is it easier to bulldoze a tent than to build a duplex? Why is it easier to fund police overtime than mental health clinics? Why is it easier to scapegoat than to solve? Why is indifference and apathy in America rewarded? I hope your road is a good one, and if you're homeless, I hope it doesn't suck for you. And remember, the homeless don't need to be euthanized. They need homes. Why is that so hard to understand? Take care.